Good morning. It is now 9:09 on the 23rd, and there being a quorum of council, I hereby call our next legislative agenda meeting to order. I would like to first start off and welcome our distinguished guests, Senator Craven, Senator Johnson. Thank you so much for being here. Rest of the council, thank y'all for being here today as well. Councilman McGee cannot unfortunately make it this morning. So we're going to just go ahead and kick right off, and I want to turn this over to our city manager, Mark Watson, to kind of start introducing our items here. And if you have any questions, this is going to be an open discussion, so feel free. Thank you.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to host everyone here at the Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport. This is the first time that we have ever used this facility in this manner, but I think everybody will agree it's pretty nice to use. But we have a number of things that we would like to cover with you this morning, Senator Craven and Senator Johnson. The first thing we want to do is to bring you up to speed on a number of items where you have assisted the city of Monroe, and we want you to know how we're using the resources that you have provided to us, so you'll know what's happening there. And then Lisa Hollowell will come and cover the rest of City Council's legislative agenda with you. So to start off with, first and foremost, I'd like to introduce the topic of our water supply. Everyone should know at this point that this part of the southern Piedmont of North Carolina is under a severe drought. The city of Monroe is actually under stage 1 water conservation, which is all voluntary. It's more of public information, making people aware of the water shortage, and reminding them to be good stewards of the resource. We go into stage 1 with 180 days worth of water remaining in the supply. The good Lord has provided some rain between the time we went into stage 1 and now, so it's kind of extended that stage 1 category, and that's kind of where we're at with that at the present time. One of the items that you both were very big help with in assisting the city of Monroe, and that was to acquire the state-owned property off of Sutherland Avenue, where the old rock quarries are at, part of the property where NCDOT was managing those facilities. Just so you know, the deed was transmitted and recorded in December, and we have already started making plans to pump those quarries. As it just so happens, the deed gets signed and recorded in December, and here we are, in March, in need of that water supply. How that will work is a pretty interesting thing. We want to take just a minute. I'm going to invite Jay Voiles with our water resources up and let him tell you how that resource is going to connect into our water supply.
Good morning, and thank you, Manager Watson, for the introduction, and thank you for allowing me to speak this morning about activating the Monroe Rock Quarry as a supplemental water supply. So, as Mr. Watson stated, we are in stage 1 voluntary water conservation, and what we're doing to further delay stage 2, which stage 2 comes with rate increases to our customers, which we want to avoid, and ensuring that as we approach the summer season, which is our highest water usage of the year, that we have adequate water supply to continue serving our residents and our customers, our industrial customers as well. So as you see in front of you, there is a map showing how we're going to interconnect the rock quarry into our existing reservoir system. There at the top of the page in the center is the rock quarry. You'll see a red line that runs south, crossing US Highway 74 and Highway 601. Those will be under the highways, of course. One note I want to make about that route plan is that the city of Monroe owns all of that in fee simple. There's no acquisition of easements, there's no taking of property. We have right of way all the way from the rock quarry to Lake Lee. So this supplemental water will be pumped into Lake Lee, which has a pump running from Lake Lee to Lake Twitty. So we're able to keep Lake Twitty where our water plant is with adequate water by bringing quarry water into Lake Lee, if that makes sense. So this is a project that we began in early January, preparing the quarry, and we're also looking at studying the quarry and how it fits into our long-term water supply. So as we pump the quarry down, we're going to be looking at the recharge rates. We're going to be looking at other factors that can bring this water body into a permanent water supply for our customers. As you may know, we are inside the Rocky River subbasin, which basically brings us all into one working water supply between our 3 reservoir system and the rock quarry. Anything outside of the Rocky River subbasin would require an interbasin transfer. So we're appropriately using our resources that are here in our community to serve our community. I'd like to entertain any questions you might have.
I got one quick question, just for information on this rate or the stage 2. As far, what's the impact on like the commercial or the industrial? 5%. Okay, and that, so it applies to residential and commercial same rate.
That's
so
correct.
There's no differentiation.
Yes, sir.
So one of the things that the city did this year was to put in place a tiered rate system. In the past, it had been one rate for everybody, whether you're commercial or residential. Tiering those provided actually a price break for our lowest water users, our residential users, and I can't remember the percentage, but I want to say it was somewhere in the 10-15% rate offset. But when you go into stage 2, there's 5%. Stage 3 is another 5%, and it just keeps growing. And we want to avoid that. Jay, what's the estimated volume of water inside the big quarry? So there's 2 quarries, but.
Yes, sir. The main quarry that you see on the page is approximately 120 million gallons. Currently, the city produces roughly 6.5 million gallons of treated water per day to its customers. So if we do the math on this will provide us roughly 30 to 50 days of water supply, not counting the recharge or any precipitation that would add to the quarry.
And we're pumping from Lake Lee into Lake Twitty how much a day?
Approximately 3 million gallons per day.
So half of our production, we're pumping from Lake Lee over to Lake Twitty for that production.
Yes, sir.
Early on in this drought, we have 3 watershed lakes: Lake Monroe, Lake Lee, and Lake Twitty. The unique thing about the rock quarry is it is not a watershed body of water. It is a deep aquifer fed body of water. So you don't have all of the runoff coming up off of any land into that body of water, which makes it really, really, really clean. Initially in this drought, we opened up the gates on Lake Monroe to feed Lake Lee that had begun to drop already. Lake Monroe is 9 feet below pool right now?
Yes, sir.
Because Lake Lee is so shallow and we received some rain, it's at full pool right now. So the idea is, right now, we've shut Monroe off to let it recharge, and we'll be using the rock quarry source to augment Lake Lee and send it over to Twitty. And Twitty's about 3.5 feet down?
Just under 5 feet down.
Just under 5 feet down, so thank you for that good news. Any questions for Jay? It's a serious issue for the community, but I would like to just say thank you to Rob Miller, our utilities general manager, Jay Wills, our deputy general manager, for staying on top of this issue, managing these resources, and it's a balance every day to watch it and make sure that it's being managed appropriately.
What's the timeline on getting the quarry online?
Approximately 15 to 20 days. We've already made preparatory efforts by clearing some vegetation around the quarry, as well as creating a pad site where the temporary pumps are going to be located. We have the piping being delivered to the site currently, and we're going to be installing it over the next 15 to 20 days.
So we get
I was sitting there thinking like
state,
6
yeah.
months.
Jay, we might need you some other areas across the state.
6,000.
No, you don't. He stays here in Monroe. That's impressive.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
6,000 linear feet of pipe between the quarry and the
20 days. Yeah, that's strong.
And Jay, share, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, you go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I know we have a tier system, and you mentioned that, in the event that we have to go to stage 2, which we hope we don't, that'd be a rate increase, but that would also, include fines for misuse, is that correct?
That's correct. So in stage 2 and beyond, there becomes mandatory restrictions. So we start looking at customers' water usage. I believe one of the caps is 5,000 gallons per month becomes, I believe that's in stage 3. But yes, a 5% rate increase, mandatory restrictions. For instance, no more irrigation, no more lawn watering, uses like that. And we want to avoid that as much as possible.
So at some point, if we start going down this road of these increasing stages, we will be seeking to turn on the interconnect on the east side of town with the county's water system. But that will work through NCDEQ for that. Currently, we have an intake on the west side of town, not far from here, that comes out of the Catawba River Basin to MGD, that augments our supply. So that to MGD is basically feeding this industrial area right here.
And Jay, also, if you'll share with our Raleigh delegation, not only are you implementing and having this online in 2 weeks, tell them how you did Wall Street negotiation on the original pricing.
So we had received an initial quote of approximately $350,000, I believe it was, to put in this temporary piping. That was a sight unseen quote. Since then, we've done numerous job walks of the entire site to and from Lake Lee to the rock quarry. Right now, we have a contract open for roughly $215,000, and that is for 2 months of usage of this temporary line. Some of those are one-time costs, but approximately $50,000 per month is the rental fee for the piping and the pumps to institute this line. Yes, sir.
So, Senators, thank you so much for your support. We would be in a pickle right now if we did not have this water supply available and be able to manage it along with our other resources. Just to note, the property does have 2 quarries on it. The upper quarry, I'll throw my estimate out there, is probably 40 million to 50 million gallons. It sits on a much higher elevation than the lower quarry, and I've talked with our utility about the possibility of siphoning instead of pumping off the upper quarry into the lower quarry and then pumping it over to Lake Lee. So they're still working on that idea. I don't know if my engineering idea is going to work or not, but at some point in time, that's a sizable amount of water in that upper quarry that we need to make use of. Moving along, next, I'd like to just give you an update on some economic development that we have here in Monroe. And you may be familiar with the North Carolina Economic Development Partnership program called Select Sites. The General Assembly set aside funds for a Select Site program which would pre-develop certain sites around the state of North Carolina. Monroe applied and was selected as one of 15 of these sites. This was a competitive process To date, we have been awarded 2 grants for a total of $1.7 million. And that is, the purpose of that is to take this land, which is it's 74 acres. It's off of Sutherland Avenue, it's directly across the street from Windsor Windows, if you know the area, and do all the preliminary environmental testing, tree studies, Native American studies, all of that kind of a thing. Right now we are in the process of doing the soil and erosion control plan, looking at, we have an engineering firm that's looking at what is the maximum buildable area within that 74 acres. Right now, it looks like maximum square footage under a single building would be about 600,000 square feet. So the grant, one part of the 1.7 million will be to basically clear the property, prepare it for grading, but it will not grade it for pad. That will be whatever company comes in and purchases can develop the pad appropriate to their use. But we'll clear it all the way back to the buffers and install the erosion control measures and make it ready for future development. We also have the traffic analysis that's already been completed, so this is going to be as turnkey of a parcel as you can imagine.
So when the Windsor Window trucks and along that industrial path there, when they're making their way to the bypass, do they go to Morgan Mill, or do they go, which direction are they going over to 601?
They're taking Morgan Mill right now.
Because that interchange isn't very good.
Well, but there's there are some improvements that are planned off of 601 with the installation of the new Skyway Bridge. There's going to be a roundabout there. If you're familiar with the area, you know that FedEx is there also. There's one parcel of property in between FedEx and 601 that I understand they're still in negotiation with that property owner to create a quicker, easier way to get from their property onto 601 and interchange there. That has not happened, or that hasn't come to fruition as of right now. And it will not be, but I'm going to say within the next 30 to 45 days, we have another major industrial development, economic development and investment in between Windsor and FedEx that we'll be announcing. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 400,000 square feet of manufacturing. And Windsor has also contacted us. They are ready to do their first expansion. So lots going on in that area. Any other questions about that? And when we touch on this particular site and economic development in the city of Monroe, this is literally scratching the surface. Within a half a mile of where we're at right now, currently on the table is almost 1 million square feet of manufacturing space. It's either currently under construction, currently being designed, or has just been purchased. Update number 4, Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport, and update on the air traffic control project. Thank you so much for supporting the $6 million in funding for the air traffic control tower project. Monroe applied for and was selected into the FAA contract tower program. What that means is that the city of Monroe builds the tower and the FAA pays to operate it. Okay, so we'll pay the electric bill and you know, do the basic maintenance and things like that, but they will staff it. The way that works here in the Charlotte region, the main FAA air traffic control group is out of Charlotte. They also supply the individuals that are working in Concord, and they'll supply those individuals that work here. So we were accepted into that program, and as a result, about 6 months ago, we went through a site selection process where through with the advisory, Airport Advisory Board, City Council, and staff, 6 sites were looked at and evaluated, and this was a really, really neat process. The FAA came in and scanned the airport with LiDAR and created a 3D model of everything on this property. And then they were able to create a virtual environment to where they would go to, let's say, Site A, and they could simulate, you know, is the sun rising, is the sun setting, you know, is it raining, can I see from one end of the airport to the other, are there obstructions? They could actually virtually raise themselves up in elevation to see how high a tower would have to be in order to have that unobstructed view. And that's how they evaluate the sites. And it was an incredible process. And I'm very pleased to tell you that the new tower will be located right across the runway there. If you see the little red sign that says 235 Senator Johnson, is behind that column right there. But the tower will be about 75 feet inside the wood line on the other side right there. Perfect place for it. It'll be 49 feet from the ground to the floor of the cab, and then the cab is 15 feet high, so 61 feet total. Can I give you a perspective of that? That's about 2/3 the height of the Government Center Tower downtown Monroe. Should have a clear line, unobstructed view from this tower to the tower in Charlotte. The other thing that the FAA is considering, they're talking about, they're excited about it actually, is installing, and I'm not technically proficient enough to understand how it works, other than the way I explain it is they want to install a radar repeater here and a radar repeater in Concord. And when they couple that with the radar in Charlotte, it turns the radar into a 3-dimensional view for everything that's in the airspace. This is the same radar system that they were trying to get installed in Reagan Airport when they had the accident between the military aircraft and the passenger jet. So that would be an expense on the FAA. Where are we at today with this? Our consulting firm has already completed the initial design and has done a cost estimate. The FAA, as of last week, has requested that we have bid documents ready for release in September. There was a conference in Charlotte last week of all the for the Division of Aviation, and we are getting encouraging news from the FAA that our project is on the funding list. We have applied for, I didn't tell you the best part. We've applied for $12 million from the FAA under this contract tower program. And they are giving us encouraging news that we are on that funding list.
Y'all don't have to put the equipment in. All you're doing is paying the utilities and maintenance of the grounds and stuff.
We build a building and we put the furniture in and everything they need to operate it.
Does that include, that does not include their equipment, or it does?
But it's basically radio equipment. It is a dedicated fiber line from Charlotte, which we we already have a dedicated fiber line right here with the U.S. Customs House, but that'll be a dedicated fiber line from Charlotte, and we're responsible for all of that. Yeah. Yeah. Couple of other projects here at the airport real quickly. One is the wildlife fence replacement project. Just on the other side of that tree line, about 100 yards, is a 8-foot high wildlife fence. It's not underpinned, and we have a lot of wildlife that make their way onto the airport. We've had the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service out looking at that. And the only way to really keep the wildlife, and you're talking about every manner of wildlife. I mean, we have fox, we have coyotes, we have deer, we have turkey, we have, I mean, you name it, it's on this airfield. They recommended replacement with a higher fence and a fence that's underpinned. That project has been bid out, awarded, and it is under construction right now. I think, what was it, 10% match on that? Yeah, for the city. And the rest of those come through pass-through funds from the federal government through the state of North Carolina to ours. Other projects that are on the near horizon, replacement of this parking apron right here. The apron is in really bad condition. It has a shallow base. It has been selected for replacement. These again are federal funds that are passed through the Division of Aviation with a small match from the city. They will be putting a deeper base on, strengthening the pad, the pad to 95,000 pounds. It's right at 60,000 pounds right now. Why is that important? All of your heavier commercial, I mean not commercial, but corporate aircraft are in that 90,000 pound range. We can't park a G650 out there because of the weight, okay? Charlotte Plastics has one, and when they fly in here, they can't be fully loaded and they can't be full of fuel, okay? So they have to be under the weight limit. The runway is at 65,000 pounds. The taxiways are at 65,000 pounds, so we have to be really, really careful, and we're limited about, to the size of the aircraft that can come in. So that's stage one, is getting the parking area up to weight limit. Stage two is reconstructing the taxiways and getting them up to weight limit. And if you've ever been down this taxiway from this point down to the west end of the field, when the airfield was when the airstrip was expanded, for whatever reason, the taxiway was not straightened, and it winds around like a snake down here. So that's going to be straightened out. And lastly, the third project will be to improve the strength of the actual runway itself. That is probably in the 6 to 8 years away. All right. Lastly, and I'm just hitting the highlights. There's a whole lot more to what's going on here at the airport. But lastly, for the sake of time, I'd like to invite Chief Fowler to come up. The General Assembly's been very gracious, and y'all have been very kind to support the Monroe Fire Department with some funding for some of the needed equipment that actually gets used across the region, not just here in the city of Monroe. But I'll let Chief Fowler tell you how he is spending the state's money.
Thank you,
And
Mr. Watson.
At our previous legislative agenda, he reminded everybody that he is very good at spending money.
I'm very
And
familiar.
I will attest to that.
Very familiar with spending money. So, Thank you, sir. Good morning, Mayor and Council. Senator Craven, Senator Johnson. I do just want to start by saying thank you to both of you for the support. You did allocate $250,000 to the fire department. 80,000 of that was for water rescue to improve that. 95,000 was for our hazardous materials response program, and then 75,000 for the for our training, for some training upgrades. So just a quick overview of the department. Monroe is the only only municipal department in Union County. All the other departments are private 501c3 departments. We have a very good working relationship with each of those departments. We do a lot of automatic aid, mutual aid, really on a daily basis with the county departments. Have a really good relationship. They help us out a lot, and we go out and assist them. So we've got a good relationship there. We provide a variety of services. Of course, we do any type of fire protection, structural, grass, wildland, that type of thing. We provide ARF, airport protection here at the airport, emergency medical. We don't transport, but we do first responder, emergency medical. Technical rescue, basically any type of rescue, water rescue being one of those. Hazardous materials response, and then we enforce the state fire code, administer that here in the city. We are very pleased to say that we are accredited. We're internationally accredited. One of probably about maybe 25 or so in the state. And we do have an ISO class 1. Very, very pleased with that too. And again, one of probably 30 or so in the state. So, and I say all that not bragging or boastfully, but just to say thank you for the support that we get here in the city through the manager and the city council and through the state as well. So we appreciate that. Do have 3 of our chief officers with us this morning. I do want to, I think you know all of them. Deputy Chief Brian Kenley, Chief Johnny Blythe, and Deputy Chief Travis Stigall. I certainly appreciate them and what they do for us every day. So the first thing, let's talk just a minute about the hazmat portion of this. There was 95,000 allocated for that. Really 91,000 of that, which was our initial ask, was for one piece of equipment. It's called a threat ID. And basically it identifies any type of chemicals. You know, one of the first steps we have to do when we go to any kind of hazmat incident is identify what we're dealing with. So this device will identify up to like 23,000 different chemicals. It'll identify solids, powders, liquids, gases, and so we actually purchased that as soon as we got the funding, and that's been in service for some time now. We do provide that hazmat service countywide. We've got an interlocal agreement with Union County. We provide that countywide. We also go to Anson County quite, I won't say often, but occasionally. There are 7 state hazmat response teams in the state, the closest one being in Charlotte. But when you go east, the next state team is in Fayetteville, so we do go east occasionally. I think there's about probably a total of maybe 22 or so technician level teams in the state, and we're fortunate to operate one of those here. We actually went to Pageland, or our guys went to Pageland Friday evening. Chief Blythe went with that company there. They had a fire down at the, Combraco, and they had some concerns with some hazardous materials involved in that. So we do provide that service wherever it's needed. Of course, that can be for, you know, roadway incidents, railway incidents, fixed facilities, wherever it may be. Our water rescue, we do provide that service countywide as well through an agreement with Union County, and we are a Type 2 team with the state, registered with the state of North Carolina and available for deployments, and we have done deployments in the past. Helene, we actually sent 2 teams to Western North Carolina during Helene. Chief Blythe was actually on one of those teams. Chief Blythe actually heads up our water rescue program. So we've used 80,000 of that to purchase an additional setup, and it's actually here. And feel free to walk out and take a look at it when we leave here. Give you a little static display. If you'd like a little more interactive portion, we'll find some water somewhere and put you out in a boat, and this will be a beautiful day for it. But so what this does, this is our third setup like this. During Helene, as I said, we sent 2 teams to Western North Carolina. We have the people to do that, but that left us with no resources left here in town. Now, Helene was certainly a very unique event, and they were needing help, and so we sent the second team there. But what this will do, allow us to have, actually we can stand up 3 teams, 3 12-person teams if we need to do that. So thank you for that. That included a trailer and 2 rafts. We actually just got this set up. We've been waiting a little bit, just making sure that we were buying the same thing that the other state teams were using, so that when we are on these deployments, we're compatible with each other, and if we need to share a part or a motor or whatever, then we can do that. Still working on the motors. We do have some local funding to purchase the motors with, but that's a long story that Chief Bly can explain more about, but we're still working through the motors. And then finally, you'll see there on the last page of your handout, we used the other $75,000 to put a classroom down at our fire training facility. And this facility, it's a city-county joint venture. We actually built that facility in 1999. We have a tower there. We have burn props. We have a burn building set up. The one thing that we were missing was a classroom. So what happened was, or what was happening, when we would do fire training, whether recruit training or in-service training, any of the lecture or classroom part we would have to do somewhere else, say at one of our fire stations, then go there and do the practical part. This allows us to do it all on site. It's really beneficial for us, but also very beneficial to all the county departments. You know, they can come there, do it all on site. And so this funding that you provided allowed us to do that. We actually, also through a partnership with the Union County Public Schools, we're able to get 2 of their mobile classroom units that they were surplusing out. So we set 2 of those units up. One of them is set up as a classroom, has been in service for about a year now. And the other one, we're actually putting showers in it. You've probably heard, you know, just the concern nowadays with cancer in the fire service. So when firefighters go there and they train, they do the live burn training. Once we get those showers set up, then they'll be able to come out, go there and shower instead of, you know, going back to the station, or the, you know, volunteers going back to their home or whatever. It allows them to decom appropriately there. One of our future plans down at that training grounds, and again, it's a joint city-county training grounds in South Piedmont. As the manager mentioned, you know, with the property acquisition, and thank you both for that as well, it does allow us sufficient room now to put a driving pad in. That's one thing that we don't have here in the city or the county, is an area that's large enough to do the state recommended fire apparatus emergency driving course, because it requires a large area, and we can't just use you know, like an asphalt parking lot, like shopping center or whatever, because of the weight of those apparatus. You know, it would eventually tear that asphalt up. So our long-term plan is to, well, hopefully not too long-term, but our plan is to put a driving pad there, a concrete pad that we could use for fire apparatus training, not just for us, but for all the departments in the county. Could
Where
also
do you
be
do that
used.
now?
Now we just find places, and we do, we'll kind of do portions of it, and then we'll take it down and set up and do another portion. This would allow us to set the whole course up and just run it.
What's the cost?
You know, the last cost estimates that we got, now these are dated, was about 600,000, but I would imagine it's probably it's probably almost doubled by now. So,
I just mentioned while the chief's primary interest is fire department, these driving pads are also used for police department training, skidding, how to control cars, doing the, what do you call it, pit maneuvers, you know, and all that kind of a thing, similar. The only driving pad that I can compare to what we're looking at is the one that's in Charlotte. So,
Chief,
we would let the police use it, you know.
so I've never been to the training facility, but you were talking about the live burns and stuff. Is that similar to what Midland put in?
Yes. So what we have there, we have a 4-story tower that we built in '99, but we can't actually burn in that tower. We can use smoke, you know, make smoke and that type of thing. So a few years ago, through a partnership with South Piedmont, we put in some Connex boxes similar to what Midland did. So we do the live burn training in those Connex boxes. Y'all are welcome to come down and visit anytime. We'd love to give you a tour anytime you'd like to do that. So. Okay.
Chief Fowler
Yes, ma'am.
doesn't brag because he's not a boaster, but I will. We have a tremendous fire department. And all the things they do, we're good neighbors. He talked to about some of the places that we've been, some of the lives we've saved. So I just said hats off to him. And he talked about that pad, and I saw y'all write that down. That's good too.
so
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So, if you look at the little map right here, you see the quarry, that's the fire training ground right there.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So, with the quarry property, you see that looks like there's an area right in here that is been graded off. It's actually flat as pancake. It's adjacent to this area, so combining the current asphalt area and this is like the perfect place for a facility like that.
Do you happen to know the size that it would take to do this, Chief?
We have that. I don't have it right offhand. I don't know if any of you guys, we have that information, but I don't know.
Okay.
It's a large square,
Okay.
you know. And as the manager said, we do have the perfect place to put it.
Would it fit all in that space?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it definitely would fit.
Okay.
And there where the road goes in now, you go in, the training tower's on the right. There's an old asphalt pad there that was from years ago. We'll just expand from that on across where the roadway
To the other side.
comes in now. Yeah,
Okay.
to the left side there.
Okay.
So there's plenty of room. So we've got the area now, we've got the wheel, we've got the people, we've got the trucks to put on it. All we need is a little bit of funding to fund that. And we'll be
Well,
good
in
to
God
go.
we trust.
We'll be good to go. I really do appreciate both of you and appreciate the entire delegation, so thank you very much.
Chief, one important thing to mention too is, you know, when you and I went down there a couple of months ago, it wasn't just us training.
Right.
Stallings was training, I think Baker's was there, Wesley Chapel was there, Waxhaw was there, but I mean, everybody comes and utilizes those training grounds.
That's a good point. It's not necessarily going to benefit just Monroe. It's going to
right.
benefit quite a few other places.
Correct.
Well, and just kind of on that point, Senator Craven and I, when we're advocating for local funds and stuff, the idea of regionalism and that it's not just for that one, that helps us a lot because having it where it's serving an area as opposed to one specific department, and you can bring in others, and so it makes it a lot easier for us to
Yes.
Thank you.
try to advocate that way.
Okay.
Thanks,
you
Chief.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Fowler. Since we're on that topic of regionalism, what's also on this map is the Monroe Police Department firing range. And I've heard that, you know, Matthews comes down and uses it, Pineville uses it. state and federal departments come and use it. Waxhaw uses it, Mid-Hill uses it. So it is, it's along with the fire training ground, which gets a lot of local use. Our police department firing range also gets a lot of use. And that's a topic that y'all may hear some more about in the coming months. Any questions about any of that? So again, a big thank you for all that you have done to support the city of Monroe. I think it's evident that we've taken these dollars that you provided and we have put them to good use and not $1 wasted. At this time, I'd like to invite Assistant City Manager Lisa Hollowell to the podium. And Lisa, because of her years of experience working with the General Assembly, really has a responsibility for the city's legislative agenda. I know she communicates a lot with your offices, but she takes the direction of City Council, puts that into an agenda, gets that adopted, and then continues to monitor the progress of any bills that come up that would be associated with any of the legislative items that City Council has on their agenda. So, Lisa, if you would, please cover the rest of the City Council's legislative agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you, Manager. Mayor Burns and Mayor Pro Tem Anthony and council members, Senator Craven, Senator Johnson. It's my pleasure to go over the legislative agenda with you. You have a brochure in front of you, and it's laid out primarily with the funding priorities as well as policy priorities. Most of the priorities on this brochure, it affects more than just the city of Monroe. As we go through these, it affects, in one case, all of the municipalities in the state, and then we have some other that are regional in focus. The first item that I want to talk about is one of my favorites, which is the Powell bill. So this is the aid to municipalities. It's funds that go out to over 500 cities and towns to help them pay for resurfacing their roads, for maintenance of their roads and the streets that they own. And Monroe owns 174 miles of road. And that's pretty significant. There are only about 20 municipalities that own more than the city of Monroe. And you think about the 174, that's even more than, you know, the distance between Raleigh and Monroe, which, Senator Johnson, you travel pretty regularly, and it may be equivalent to how much you travel, Senator Craven, when you're going from your home to Raleigh. So we've got a lot of roads to maintain. And on the agenda last year, it was we were asking for a 20% increase, and that would be 10% for each year of the biennium had you passed, you know, a budget last year. If you were to do a budget this year, we would ask that you look at maybe enhancing that program by about 10%, and that would mean about $150,000 for the city of Monroe. And Senators, the council has made street repaving a priority. And in the budget in the current year, they've put a lot of additional money into it because they recognize that it can't just be the Powell bill funds that, you know, maintain and construct and contract resurface our roads. And we've got a $6 million program in the current year and $6 million next year. And then over a 4-year period, we're looking at paving over 20 miles of our roads. So they recognize it can't just be that aid to municipalities, and they've actually got a major program going. That's a combination of Powell bill funds, general fund, and also the $30 vehicle registration tax that Monroe takes advantage of. While we're talking about the Powell bill, this also appears on the policy agenda. And Senators, you probably know this or remember this, that currently those municipalities that are over 400,000 in population are held outside of the formula, and they're held to their 2019 allocation amount. That formula is based on 75% population and 25% lane miles. So this is a special provision that's put into the bill every year, and if it's not in there, then that will mean a reduction to the city of Monroe and all of the other municipalities. So it's important to have that. The second special provision that is typically included is that the Department of Transportation may not go in after the General Assembly passes the budget and does the appropriation for the POW bill. They cannot go in and reduce it. They actually did that back in 2019, 2020. They reduced that aid to municipalities without the General Assembly's authority. So that special provision is important because cities count on that, they budget for it, and it's important that whatever the General Assembly has appropriated, that DOT follows that. The next one is the Winchester area redevelopment. This was also on the agenda for last year and continues. There's a lot of historical and cultural significance to the Winchester area, and the city is in the process of doing a design out there for a full revitalization that will include private and public partnerships, a historical walking trail out there that will show the history of this area, and we're repurposing some of the buildings out there as well that will have a presence with the city of Monroe. Right now, one of the buildings is currently under renovation that will house the fire department headquarters, as well as being an inventory depot of sorts for the fire department. And they're currently already moving in and utilizing some of that. The next one is related to the Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport improvements. We've got an amount on there, about $8.5 million, if you were to have some direct appropriations. This airport is growing. There's still a lot of needs out here that often fall to the taxpayers of Monroe to help support some of the changes here, and we would just request if you have some additional transportation dollars, we would love to have those come out for the airport.
Have we been able to recruit any more jets or folks like that to come and domicile here with some of the improvements that we've done at the airport? And I say we, I mean the city.
Malcolm Weeks is a airport director. Malcolm, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember in the advisory meeting about 2 months ago, you said that the amount of corporate jet traffic over the last quarter has increased by 30%.
And that's transient,
Right.
not base.
You're talking about
I'm
property
actually,
tax. Oh, yeah.
if you're looking, are you talking about?
I'm talking about getting them domiciled here so that we can get the property tax off of it.
We are working on that. Our biggest problem is tailpipe. Of course, you gotta have hangers that will accommodate.
Gotcha.
The Harris Teeter hangers are open now, we can only go a certain size jet going in there. We will go back. So I'll put something in the 18 to 20 million range in there. But obviously, what would be great is to be able to build some sizable hangars that would accommodate the larger jets. We do have people that call constantly, have you got hangar space? And it's at a very serious premium in the market, the general market.
Man, this proximity to Charlotte with all the executive traffic that's coming in, none of them want to go in and out of Charlotte Douglas. And you can, from here to down, depending on the day of the week, from here to downtown, and from Charlotte Douglas to downtown, is probably closer here than it is over there with Wilkinson and.
Very similar. Very similar to Congress.
It's 33 minutes from here to downtown Charlotte.
Yeah, we've had that measured already. Yep.
Just really like to capitalize on that as much as we could.
We need to.
And Senator Johnson, you know that we've been moving toward having private hangars, so that we do land leases and private hangars are being built, and the newest one is the one out here, and that houses, you know, new aircraft. We've got another pad that we have contracted for, and that will also be on the, you know, tax rolls as regarding the hangar itself, as well as the aircraft that domicile there. And then we've got another one in the works. What is no longer on the list, because we are doing the biennial legislative agenda, and we tweak it in the second year to sort of correspond to your legislature and your session. We don't have the city hall replacement on there anymore, and that was we heard from our council that that they really want the city to utilize the buildings that we currently have, renovate those when we need to try to house the city functions in what we currently have, and not look to have a city hall replacement. So we've done that. We've had some significant upgrades over this past year. We've improved the downtown building and now housing staff in the downstairs. That hadn't happened before. We've renovated some of the Ellen Fitzgerald building, which used to be the old senior center, and now that's housing some of engineering, and that will eventually house all of it. We've got also the field house, which is right across from the Monroe Elementary School, middle school.
Old Walter Beckett.
Old Walter Bickett, and so that was just an old field house, and we've renovated that, and that houses our Department of Property Management. And then there's another space to house city functions. And then also out at Winchester, out of we call it the old ceramics building, and that one is what's going to house our fire HQ. So basically, we are in the process of looking at our space needs for long term, like what do we have now, and what can be accommodated now, and then what does that look like in 10 years, so we can get a real plan in place if needed. Also, what's not on the list is the wastewater treatment plant expansion. And really, this came as a result of the combination of water and sewer with electric and new leadership there. And they did a new evaluation of when we will actually need a wastewater treatment plant expansion, and that's now pushed out to 2032 or beyond. So we feel good about that. So those are no longer on the list. So with our policy priorities, so we have those three major money ones. We've got the water basin criteria. This remains on the list from council, and we'd like to see a revision in the general statute that would have any type of water transfer interbasin certificates issued at the main river level instead of the sub-basin level, and that stays on there. We know that is probably difficult to have happen, but that is on there. Another one that's very important is protected planning and zoning authority, and this is in regards to it's called now the down zoning special provision that was put into the hurricane relief bill that would require written consent from all the property owners in an affected zone, and consent from them. And so the House did put forward a bill that would exclude all of Union County. And we would just ask that you look at that this coming year and maybe provide some types of tweaks or be able to eliminate Union and City of Monroe altogether. The county tier ranking system, this is one that affects, more than just the City of Monroe. And this is the ranking system of the economically distressed, this classification of 1 to 3. And the ask is that you have a study, the Department of Commerce do a study to look at, is there a way to have that designation made broad, more narrow than just the broad county level. The House did pass a bill that would require the UNC School of Government to do a study. Not the School of Government, it's the Policy Collaborative. And we would just ask that maybe the Senate take that up and move that forward. And again, that's beyond just the City of Monroe. Emergency medical services. This is one that is also a study to look at how services provided across the state. It is understood that services are different throughout the state depending on where you live, depends on the type of emergency medical services you receive when you call the EMS or an ambulance to come out. And we would ask that gets studied and looked at, and perhaps even an opportunity for the state to get involved with a little bit more regulation on it. So it won't depend on where you live on the type of service that you receive. The other item on here is, this is one that was added this year, and it's related to the House Select Committee that started up in December. And it's been a very, very active committee looking at property tax and maybe ways to control the values of properties or the actual property tax rates. I'm sure you're familiar with what they're doing. I think as of last week, there was discussion about maybe a constitutional amendment on it. And I think that the council is, they had passed a statement. They are in support of leaving those decisions to the local level. But we would love to be involved at the, be at the table when it comes time to try to figure out what you want to do with that. We recognize that there's a need to stabilize that process of ever increasing property values. And Mr. Manager, I think that completes everything.
I'd just like to make a comment about the, if I may, about the emergency medical services piece. What limited knowledge I have is it's very vague in general at the state level as far as statute language and things like that. And I know in our county they do a tremendous job, and our first responders here in Monroe do a wonderful job. But there are a lot of pieces that we do locally that are different from other places across the state. We have a dynamic deployment model that we use, which I think needs some further attention and examining. And it would just be great to get more input and more of a structure in place for everyone in the state of North Carolina to follow, so that if the time comes, or when it comes, not if it comes, but when it comes to a family member or someone you love or a friend or a neighbor, that service is going to be needed, and I think now's the time to speak to that. So I appreciate your attention to that. Thank you.
Any other questions? I will say that regarding the emergency medical service that City Council has taken that up in discussions, especially in Public Safety Committee. The fire chief and the fire department have been working with emergency medical service here in the county to determine what types of medical procedures can and cannot be used or administered by the fire department or the first responders in the city of Monroe. There have been some changes to what can be administered by those first responders, such as the fire department in the city. And I don't, in general, let's just say there's a half a dozen to 8 different new procedures or procedures that can be performed by an EMT level responder without having a whole lot of additional training. The chief has supplied that information to the Public Safety Committee, and he's made a recommendation in the budget that we move forward with that improved, enhanced EMT level of response within the city. And I believe the total cost of that program was about $73,000, $75,000. So council, y'all will be seeing that in the budget. The other thing that I would just like to mention that kind of ties a lot of what has been discussed here today together, that City Council, you will be seeing this in your budget review sessions. Staff's been working on this. The whole topic of the tax base and what makes up the tax base, and what is the percentage of residential compared to industrial, commercial, and institutional. The city of Monroe has an incredibly strong economy. We are the industrial heartbeat of Union County. Within the city of Monroe, when you look at industrial, commercial, and institutional properties that are zoned for those uses, they make up 40% of the total, 60% being residential. So you look at that, and then the second thing that folks like to talk about is what's the tax, if that's what the zoning looks like, what does the tax base look like? And right now, for industrial, commercial, institutional, which is basically no tax, compared to residential, it's 39% industrial, commercial, with the remainder being residential. So if you factor out the institutional part of that, it really pushes Monroe's tax base to be close to a 50-50. I'm going out on a limb, I'll tell you by saying that right now, because staff's still working those numbers, but those are numbers that will be shared during council's budget deliberations. But that just underscores all of the planning, the investment that has gone into the city of Monroe, how strong it is and how strong it continues to be. The future is bright. I will tell you that not a week goes by that we don't get calls from industrial site selectors, or there are calls from companies that are wanting to come here either from out of state, out of the country, or relocate from one of our neighboring counties. And recently we've had 2 large manufacturers to relocate here in the city of Monroe from outside the city. So with that, Mayor, do you have any parting words?
Yeah, gentlemen, I thank you for being here today. Personally, the things that, you know, I see here that we have on our policies, I know one of the biggest challenges is this county ranking system. I understand, because that's a lot with funding, but I think that would really help our area. I think Ms. Serluda could probably speak to this as well. In funding, I think a very meaningful project that I think council would like for you guys to, you know, focus on or look at would be the Winchester redevelopment area. So please, you know, we'd be happy to talk to you guys more about that too. It is a very meaningful project for the entire city of Monroe. I know Senator Johnson, you've mentioned interest in this as well. So if there's anything that we can do to get you guys information, please let us know. So, council, anybody else?
I echo what you said. We might sound like we're asking for a lot of money, but then we talk about the quality of our citizens' lives and keep on prospering and improving our city. So we put an extra blessing on you, and that's for it again.
Council.
I would say this, we appreciate everything that you've pushed for Monroe. As you can see, we've utilized your money to the nth degree that we can use it. I would say this, having spoken to hundreds of citizens through this last campaign process, development is an issue. They understand what the downzoning bill did, and so there is some concern that we do something to address that for Monroe.
Council.
And I'd like to encourage you guys to come down to Monroe any Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'm very proud to report that we have a parking problem. We don't have enough parking downtown. So consider when you come as our guest downtown to look and see all the restaurants, the breweries, the distilleries, the shops, the events going on at the Dowd or the Science Center, along with people living downtown in upscale second and third floor, adaptively reused buildings, that we're in need of a parking structure. And if that could be considered as part of some of the funding for transportation, it would not only help with retail and residential, it would help with our businesses, both municipal and private downtown, if that's something that could be on your radar for this coming year. And we do thank you for being here today.
People look like they're having a good time too.
They're having a great time.
Everybody's smiling. It's fun to people watch.
Absolutely.
Everybody's having a good time.
I like
Spend that sales tax money.
Ms. Thompson?
Thank y'all for being here.
Thank y'all for being here. Glad to be here.
Okay. Anybody else? Any department heads, anything else you would like to say? No? Okay, well then at this time, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Talking about this